Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello and welcome to Xandermonium with me, Xander Gibb. We're with you for the next hour. How will you cope with that? I don't know how I'm going to cope. First of all, we're going to have a few announcements before we get into our interview with my guest today, who is Will Noonan, who is a well-known comedian and international porn star. I really want to start by saying congratulations to Barack Obama for his landslide victory in the elections. I'm ecstatic that he won. First and foremost, for the fact that it means I don't have to move back to the United Kingdom and live there. But also, I want to just say, big up to Barack. I'm really, really ecstatic. Also, I want to say about today as Veterans Day today, so all of you that are serving, who have served in the past, will be serving in the future, I'd like to really thank you for that. I don't think you get enough cred for the things that you do, and I don't think you're treated very well, but really, today, hand on heart, I want to say thank you to all of our service personnel. What else do I want to say? I want to say shame on you to the power companies who really have not pulled out their fingers to get power back to people. What about all these profits you've made over the past year? How about spending some of that? And how about buying a few freaking generators for these people that are still without power? I might be without power for the next 2 weeks. I'm really pissed about that. So I'm going to get off my soapbox now and tell you a bit about my guest today, Will Noonan, who's a comedian, an all-around funny guy. His stand-up leaves him rolling in the aisles, especially at these disabled gigs that he's been doing. His shows wow all those who hear them, especially at the shows that are especially for the deaf. Today we're going to talk about the subject of comedy and what is funny, why is it funny. Call in, tell us what tickles you, tell us what you think is funny, on where the line is drawn for humor, where does it end. Call in and tell us what you think. I'll give you the number now so you can make a note of it. It's 347-884-9061. That's 347-884-9061. So, without further ado, I give you Will Noonan.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up, man?
How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Kind of, I'm just cozying up right now in like a sectional couch. It's a cold New England evening. I've got a warm cup of coffee and sweatpants on.
Sweatpants? You just spoiled my illusion of you totally now.
No, yeah,
you're wearing sweatpants.
I just took off the leather chaps that I was horseback riding bareback in all day.
I believe you.
Yeah, that's the fantasy. I'll fulfill that.
We go way back. I must have known you for about 9 or 10 years now. I first met you when we worked in a bar that we're not going to name because we don't give free advertising to certain people. We used to work together as DJs.
Right.
And we also worked together on a porn film called, what's it called? Screw Me Gently or Hold Me Down and Screw Me Gently. I can't remember.
Yeah, there wasn't much gentle about it, I'll tell you that.
No, I remember. I walked like a cowboy for weeks.
We have known each other a very, very long time, though, when you think about it.
I know.
Yeah, probably almost 9 or 10 years, like you said. You knew me before I did stand-up comedy. I
know. Where the hell does the time go?
I know.
And now you're a big-time comedian, and you
wouldn't say that, but
well, I would. I mean, I've obviously done a bit of research about you, kind of preparing for the show, and you've got a CD out, haven't you, at the moment called Surpriso?
That's right.
Surpriso. So what is the surprise? Do you get naked or?
It's kind of funny that you said Surpriso first, because everyone does that, because it's not a real word. It's a word I made up, so I can't get mad when people don't pronounce it the way I just made it up to sound. But I named the album that because it was when I was recording the CD, like, in front of the crowd, I just randomly started talking about the Chilean miners. You remember that? When the Chilean miners were...
right.
And this is kind of actually on topic because this is how soon is too soon, or like, is it funny to make fun of something? But my joke was that, well, I had a whole bit about it, but I had remember when they were taking them out and they had the sunglasses on, and I was like, every time they brought a Chilean miner out, it was like a little surprise party, and all the Chileans would go, surprise-o!
That's actually quite funny. But
yeah,
just to pick up on something you just said about, how soon is too soon. Now, you and I have had, I love you and I love your humor, but you and I have had, little disagreements before about things that you've put on Twitter, and I said, no, far too soon. And it's funny how everybody's lying about what's too soon and what's not too soon. That really gets blurred, and I've heard lots of comedians say, well, it's never too soon, and it's part of my job as a comedian to kind of, make light of things and laugh about things. Where do you stand on that?
It's tough because, it's tough. It's all relative to the people, but comedians amongst themselves, there is zero line. I would say, it's pretty, if you were a fly on the wall for, say, 4 comedians driving a few hours in a car, you'd hear some pretty awful things, but it's all said. Comedians don't take the things they say very seriously at all, so language is kind of just like this instrument that you can play around with. But then when you take that and put it in front of people who just came in from work and just want to have a laugh and stuff like that, and they're maybe dealing with something in their personal life, it's tough. I've actually kind of learned as I've been the longer I've been a comedian, I've sort of gotten more and more sensitive to that. I still don't hold back too much, but I think I hold back a little bit more than I used to.
I think it's very difficult as well. Obviously, being gay, a lot of my comedy and my humor kind of centers around that because you focus on what you know. But sometimes people say to me, "Oh, that was a bit beyond." When I've been out with friends at events and I've seen police officers and I say things to them, mostly gay shit and fun. People "Oh, you can't talk to police officers like that,"
And people have. That's what's tough about that, because you can't take every single thing everyone says seriously, because a lot of people are just stupid and their opinions don't deserve to be taken seriously.
Right.
And absolutely. I have a lot of material about gay issues and just kind of talking about how I'm not gay, but I have gay people in my family, so it's if it runs in the family, do I have it? And it's kind of like this joke. And I do it I've done it for gay rights fundraisers, and I've done it everywhere. It's one of my the jokes I always do, and it's funny how people interpret it kind of the way they want to hear it. Sometimes a guy will come up, will be like, "Oh, I just came out to my family, and that's so funny because that's exactly what it was like." And then you'll have another guy who's like, "Way to stick it to those gays," and it's they both heard the same joke.
Yeah.
And they just kind of put their own thing on it.
I always find it hilarious that people say humor is relative. Obviously they've not met my relatives, or they really saying that humor is relative. I have one sister who's pretty religious, so she listens to my show, and she always says, "Oh, I hope there's not too much foul language in your show." And I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
you think I'm gonna vet my show just for you?" But I think if I go to someone's house and they don't swear, or they have kids, I'm quite happy not to do that. But in a forum like a bar or something like that, there shouldn't be these limitations on what we're allowed to talk about or find funny. But unfortunately, society kind of places its own bar on what is appropriate and what's not appropriate. But I do think that it's important for us to blur those boundaries because it gets people talking about things.
Yeah, and it's talking is exactly what it is. You just said it. When people go, it's relative. If you're doing a fundraiser and they're paying you to be there and you're supposed to and it's a sort of light affair or something, it's not the time to be pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable or not. But if you're in a comedy club, the people in the crowd should, even going back to the 80s, they should know that they could hear something very offensive while they're in there.
Absolutely.
Like, they should just know that going in, that that's a real possibility. In fact, like a likelihood that it's going to happen.
I mean, I think really, if you're that concerned about certain levels of humor, then don't go to that particular place, or don't. It's like in the U.S. like they don't allow swearing on television. I mean, in England, you can say pretty much anything. They don't bleep it out.
No, it's kind of like.
I
hear it all the time from people in the audience who are sometimes after shows they either like walk out, not even on me. Sometimes they'll just do it on another. They'll walk out on another comedian, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is too much," or "I didn't know he was going to be swearing." And then I just want to be like, "What the hell did you think was going to happen?"
Yeah,
then, did you?
A sermon on Matthew 6:26. I mean,
it's like
it's not church, is it? It's not church.
No, it's like going to a gun show or some sort of marksmanship thing and being like, I didn't know there was going to be a lot of loud noises.
Right.
I thought I'd just be looking at guns. I didn't know people, you know what I mean? It's just a weird sort of thing to go and be pissed off about.
I mean, look at people have been fired, like Gilbert Gottfried. I can't remember who was representing some company.
Affleck.
Affleck, that was it.
Yeah.
He made a couple of jokes about Japan, and personally, I thought they were funny, but I thought they were a little too soon.
Yeah.
But I kind of think for someone to, it's one thing to slap someone on the wrist and say, hey, that was not right, but to take their job away.
Yeah, and that was a lot of money too. A lot of money.
No, absolutely.
And especially, I thought that one especially was way blown out of proportion, because that was just a tweet. It wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't even that bad.
I mean, I think language of even, of late, the words that we use have kind of come into the forefront with things like, Ann Coulter calling the president a retard and things like that.
Yeah.
Some people thought that was funny. Now, I think, these political boundaries, like if you're Republican or if you're, Democrat or whatever, you might find some things funny and other things not. But I really do think that you have to try and find the level of humor. Everything, but some things are just not funny.
It's true, and I've seen a certain over the year. I think there would have been a time in my life where I would have said like I guess it's still true. The right comedian can kind of make anything funny,
right.
But there are certain topics that are real long shots.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mostly worked on the gay thing when I lived in London, and I remember someone going on before me and talking about, and it was just when AIDS had become very prevalent, and they got on the stage and said, because I was pretty new to the circuit, like 15, 16 years ago, and this person introduced me and said, oh, yes, we have some fresh blood for you tonight. Am I allowed to say that? And everybody just went, oh, like everybody was shocked.
Wow. I love a good AIDS joke. I mean, everyone does.
I mean, but it's about, it's about what is funny. I mean, a cancer joke's funny. Some of my best humor is about gay stuff, but I'm not sure I would tell AIDS jokes.
Yeah, but see, there's the right kind of AIDS joke. Like, I have a joke about, I don't do it much anymore, but I used to do it a lot. It's on my CD where I talk about Magic Johnson, and I say, I think he's been alive, healthy, long enough now that drunk chicks would sleep with him,
God.
And like, so the joke was kind of like, hey, the world's gotten kind of laid back enough with HIV that like you'll take a chance because he's famous. It's more important to sleep with a famous guy.
Right. I think with some comedians as well, there is an element of kind of saying something that's really controversial because it gets you noticed, no matter how funny you really think it is. Like a few months ago, Tracy Morgan said in a comedy show, he said, if my son ever came home and said he was gay, I'd stab him or shoot him. I can't remember exactly what it was.
But that That one, I feel, that situation to me was messed up, because if you've seen Tracy Morgan stand up, it's like insane nonsense from like beginning to end. So 2 sentences before that, he probably said like, you know, I'm a kangaroo and I take dumps in space. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, so you can't all of a sudden pick one sentence out of like 1,000 and be like, hey, this guy is fucking. Excuse me, I don't know if I can swear or not.
You just did, so don't worry about it, dude.
but this guy is, they're like, this guy is offensive. It was really just one blogger who was in the crowd. The whole crowd. I mean, I've been in a million comedy clubs, as you know, a million times, and I've heard some vile, awful stuff, and I've seen, you know, 100, 200 people all in unison laughing at it, because it's just kind of in that moment in time. It's not something this comedian's going to do on TV. It's not something he's going to necessarily put out there. But in that moment in time, it fits. It fits like that flow that he's on, and everyone in the room understands that it's not serious and it's not a real thing. Like I've heard people say to hecklers a million times, like, I'm going to kick your head right off your body.
Right.
That's not a real death threat.
But I love hecklers, don't you? I love it when people heckle me when I'm on stage, because I'm just so freaking quick with a response that I chew them up and spit them out and eat them for breakfast. And they don't like that. But
you are quick like that. You are good.
I just think you don't. You know, the person with the microphone. You don't say shit to them and then expect like nothing said back to you.
It's true. I don't get too aggressive with hecklers. I usually can kind of roll with it and have fun with it. I don't love it or anything, but as long as it's not too negative, I can usually have a pretty good time with it.
I actually one night once when I did a show in London, I actually made someone stand in the corner, and every time they came out of the corner, you know, it was funny. The guy was drunk, but every time he came out of the corner, I would discipline him. But the more I disciplined him, the more the crowd kind of, you know, encouraged me to do so.
From what I hear, though, from comics, like the London scene is so much more comic friendly.
It is, and the trouble is, like, and I'll give you an example of this, but they say humor travels. I don't think it does. Now, for instance, I like the language differences between the UK and the United States are phenomenal. You know, I remember saying this joke. I said I was in some store, and they said, "Do you have a loyalty card?" I said, "No, but I have a turkey up my jumper, smart ass." And then I had to change that, because in England, and here we call it a sweater. But if I said,
we never
no,
say
but I have
jumper.
a turkey up my sweater, smart ass. So you have to really change your whole kind of methodology of thinking. Because it has to be funny, you know, for a one-liner. It has to be just like that, or it's just not funny.
It's not even within the United States. It can be like that. If you have a joke that is, that's why it's a good idea to not write too specific to any area.
Right.
Because, you know, there's like Dunkin' Donuts up here. Like every 10 feet, there's a Dunkin' Donuts, and
right.
And in Connecticut and maybe in Rhode Island it's the same way, but then you get a little farther out of that area and you don't see them as much. And there's some guys around here that have like 15 killer minutes about Dunkin' Donuts, but it's like, what good is that if you can't use it anywhere else?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know? I think that you've always, this is the thing that I find as well, you've always got to be ready to change stuff. And a lot of my humor is observational as well. If I'm, like, because we all get a bit nervous on stage, and if I ever get nervous, I talk about people in the bar and the bartenders, and I say that they've hit on me, or, you know, there's someone in the back that I slept with like 5 years ago, and he was crap, and things like that, which always is good filler material.
Yeah.
But,
and for the record, I do have a Dunkin' Donuts joke.
I thought you were going to say, for the record, I haven't slept with Xander.
I was never in a gay porno either. I'd love to get a call from like one of my family members, like, so.
Yeah, if you're
doing gay porn?
Family, call us now and tell us some embarrassing things about Will.
I know,
please call and tell us some embarrassing things about Will.
Oh, I'm glad some people are Most people are probably so drunk from watching football all afternoon that they're passed out right now.
I know. What is that about? I think it's a heterosexual pastime, because I was saying to one of my friends today on Twitter, I was saying, call in today. I really want you to call in because it will be funny.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I can't do that because the football's on. I'm like, you're throwing me over for football? You're so freaking heterosexual.
Well, it's only once a week, so everyone's really crazy about it.
My show is only once a week too, dude,
I know. What the hell? What the heck?
So tell me, Will, who makes you laugh? Who do you think is funny?
Living, like alive right now?
Yeah, well, I don't think dead people are that capable of making people laugh.
I like a lot of guys who are, I'm a big fan of, like, comedy right now. Bill Burr is a guy. He's one of my favorite guys. Greg Fitzsimmons is one of my favorite guys. Kevin Hart, who just played Madison Square Garden last night, is one of my favorite guys. Always loved Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld.
Me too.
I just discovered a guy he's been discovered by a lot of other people, but I just had never heard him. Chad Daniels. This guy's really funny.
Right.
I heard him on a podcast like this one, and he was funny. So there's a lot. There's kind of a comedy boom happening right now. There's a lot of great comedy coming out.
And have you found, because I've not concentrated so much on comedy here. I've done other things like the singing, the acting, all the other stuff. Did you find it was really hard for you to break into? Because I didn't hear from you for a long time, and then you were everywhere. It was like it went boom.
It was like a hard. It was hard to break into, and I did it in a really weird backwards way of starting in New York and moving up here, which is usually it's usually the opposite.
Yeah.
But I started down there, and I think it was kind of a good. It was like a boot camp almost,
Right.
By the time I got up here, I'd only been doing it 3 years, but I think I had a lot of experience in that 3 years.
Right.
So.
And I think DJing is a great training ground for doing comedy, because you get to kind of flex your muscles. You get to kind of take the rise out of someone if they're not a very good singer or whatever. I mean, I'm terribly bitchy when I DJ because it's part of my persona. I can't just be singer is.
I think if I had never done that job, I don't know if I ever would have had the. I had always wanted to be a stand-up, but I just never really thought I was cut out for it until I kind of had that job and started making jokes and stuff like that on the mic.
I mean, I'm too lazy for stand-up. I even sit down on stage. I mean, seriously.
Well, do you know what I like about it as opposed to, because, I was trying to be, when I met you, I was trying to do acting. I'd been trying to be an actor since 2001. And what I really liked about stand-up is that you hear that?
Yeah, the cops know you've got a stash of weed, so quick,
they're here. They're coming for me.
Empty the contents of your box down the drain.
That's my great story alarm going off, because here comes a great story. No, there's a thing about stand-up that acting's so tough because, you have to audition, you either have to audition or produce your own show, but either way you kind of have to rely on someone else to give you this take a chance on you and give you some work. Whereas with stand-up, all I really wanted was to be performing on a nightly basis. And stand-up, even at the first
you mean beginning, outside of the bedroom, of course?
Yeah, exactly, off my webcam.
Yeah.
But there's even when you, whoa.
What happened?
I don't know, there's some fucking
other cops
crazy
outside your house?
I don't know what's going on. There's
going to arrest you because your comedy is bad or something?
I think someone just got in I think there's I'm not even kidding. I think there's a police chase, and I think it just kind of ended with a crash nearby.
Wow.
Because I just heard a big crash. But anyway, the thing I liked about stand-up was that you could go out every night and do it and get better every single night and perform in front of people.
I find with the acting side of things, because a lot of the roles that I play are comedic roles. I get typecast. They always cast me as the gay guy, the gay best friend, or a gay killer. So I'm really kind of doomed to play, the gay best friend who kills you. But
it's weird. I used to have the same type of problem. I was always like the brooding kind of drug dealer or drug buyer.
I see that.
Yeah, and it was kind of like that role, auditioning over and over and over again, not getting anything. But it's funny, I never started really booking acting roles until I'd been doing stand-up for a few years.
Right.
And then they kind of come to you with an idea in mind. They already know a good deal about you. They already know, like they know you bring something to the table. Like I did this commercial where the script was like, Will fills the time, basically, was the script.
Right.
It was just a couple stage directions, and I had to do all the rest. So they kind of book you hoping you're gonna be funny. Whereas like when you're an actor, they're always, I think it's like so tough to be an actor because no one wants to be that first person to just put you on a set. They're like afraid people are just gonna melt down on set and embarrass them.
And it's funny as well. I don't know if you find this, but like one of my downfalls is that I'm not very good at learning the scripts because most of my stuff is like improvised shit.
Yeah.
So the stuff I end up doing on set is kind of funnier than what they've written, and they normally just kind of go with that. Unless you've got some asshole director who's like, "This is my artistic vision, and I just want it to be so." But mostly I get to do my own thing. But
I've been doing a lot of teleprompter stuff lately, which is a weird thing.
Yeah. I did a course in London on how to read a teleprompter and stuff, and you can get these like mini programs on the computer, like a teleprompter, like how to read a reel, and I always find it, you have to read it twice almost, even if you've written it, you have to read it twice to kind of just like that says what,
It's one of those things where if you're doing it on a daily basis or a weekly basis, it gets to be easy. But if you don't do it for a while, like I was doing a internet show where I was doing it every week for a couple hours, and I was getting good at it. And then I didn't do it for like 6-7 months, and I got a commercial where I had to read prompter, and it was like I had never done it before.
Wow.
Yeah, it was funny too because the guy was like, the director kept going, "Haven't you done this before?"
So tell me, have you? I know the elections have just finished, and Barack Obama won. Thank God. Did you get a lot of comedy fodder from the elections?
I don't really do anything about politics in my act.
Really?
No, I don't have any political stuff. Because I do perform in like both communities. I do a lot of gigs in very hip, liberal, kind of city rooms like Cambridge, Mass. and stuff. But I also do a lot of gigs in like muddy parking lots. I'm off like I pull
We've heard.
I'm not in the parking lot. I'm obviously in the bar, but like when I pull into a gig and the parking lot is like dusty and there's nothing but pickup trucks, I'm like, oh boy, here we go, So, like, I don't mind. They're good shows and everything like that, but I'm just saying, if I went in there and started being like, I don't even talk about politics out loud a lot in my life that often.
I mean, I can't imagine any show that I did or anything that I was involved in that I wouldn't even try to involve it, because for me, I'm a very political animal, and being from a section of the community that is kind of treated slightly differently, well, a lot differently even, I almost see it as kind of my it's my responsibility to kind of educate people. It's my responsibility to albeit in a funny way, to encourage people to do certain things. I mean, when I used to have a column on this on the Queer Times on the internet, and I love the fact that I used to get like death threats from Republicans saying they were going to kill me and stuff like that. I mean, it was like I'm making a difference,
I think I do that. I think I do think that way about things other than politics. Like I do talk about race a lot in my act, and I talk about weed in a way I think is kind of like in an odd subliminal type of way. sort of political.
So how do you feel about these states that have legalized the recreational use of pot? Do you think that's going to happen in your state, or?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it'll happen.
For it.
I think it'll be. I think by the if by the time I say like our adopted Asian child grows up.
So are we still on for adopting an Asian child together, Will?
Yeah, didn't we make like a blood pact that like
we did.
By the time we're both 50,
let's not get onto blood, dude. Not on the radio.
In the back room of some Upper East Side dive, we swore on our blood that we'd raise a child.
Absolutely. So, tell me, do you think that men are funnier than women?
Sorry, can you repeat that? It was breaking up a little bit. What'd you say?
We're breaking up. Will, please don't break up.
I know.
With you.
We gotta.
Do you think that men are funnier than women?
No, I don't. I was just having this conversation with my girlfriend, as a matter of fact.
You have a girlfriend?
I do, at the moment.
Wow. Anyone again?
I mean, I don't know why I said at the moment. I'm sure she'd be pissed if she was listening. At the moment.
Girlfriend, run, quick!
But... what was that? Yeah, I do. I think, but you know what? I don't give anyone an easy pass, male or female. Like I just, it needs to be proven. I hate it when someone has sort of like a lot of buzz around them, maybe because they're quirky or good looking, and it's kind of like, oh, you got to check out this new comic. And a lot of times women can kind of get noticed quick, maybe quicker than they should.
Right.
Because they're cute and they're young, and the talent is there, but it hasn't like developed yet. Sometimes they like rush those people onto TV because I don't know why they look at women as like a expiring fruit or vegetable or something. Like you have to get it on TV as soon as possible.
If you don't get them live before 40, they just turn into huge vaginas.
It's really true. They just ignore women between the ages of like 40 and 70.
You see, I've never understood that kind of thinking because I think that women are even more. The more it's like with anybody. The older you get, the more life experience you get. The funnier situations become. I mean, Roseanne Barr just turned 60. I think she's never been funnier. I love the fact that she's vicious. I love that she takes no prisoners. If you fuck with her, she'll tell you, and I love that. I have a pretty good relationship with her on Twitter, but I love when somebody, when someone pisses her off, she tells them.
Yeah.
I come from that school of thought too. If someone pisses you off, you tell them.
I always loved her growing up. I was a big fan of Roseanne and her show.
Me too. In fact, the very first show I did, the very first Xandermonium show I did, I interviewed her son, and we talked a lot about humor and what was relative. One of the things that we actually talked about is I tend to touch upon this quite a lot. I was on another radio show the other day, and they were saying about how the N-word was acceptable in comedy because it's funny. I don't think it is. What do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't say it.
No.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those. It's one of those things where it depends on the joke, I guess. I've heard plenty of comics, black and white, say it
right
on stage to not. It's like you can freak an audience out real bad without saying that.
Look at Michael. Played Kramer in
Michael Richards. That's the perfect example of how not to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've seen guys kind of have fun with how that word makes people feel.
Right.
And the reaction it gets out of people. It kind of all comes down to what your on-stage character is. Like if your persona as a comedian is kind of a wisecracker and nothing's really too serious about this comedian,
right.
Like you can maybe get away with it. But if you're the type of guy who's kind of a hard-hitting sort of preacher type of comedian and you start dropping that word, people are gonna people are going to take it.
Either that or kick your ass, you know.
Yeah, and it's really what really I think offends me the most is when people just use it as like a cheap sort of shock tactic to just get a cheap laugh. And that's the most common. You see that with a lot of swear words like C-U-N-T.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I don't kind of have a problem with that, you know. I mean, I've spent like half my life in the UK, and I never hear the word there. You know, everybody uses that word, and it's kind of an acceptability. I love the way the America kind of paints things up, like Oprah would never say the C word, but she'll say vajayjay, and you know what that is. I mean, I always laugh when I hear that. Hey, Oprah, how is your vajayjay today? You know?
I've seen the C word like freak out comedy club audiences worse than the N word. I'd say. If I had to use one on stage, I'd use the N word before I'd use the C word probably.
Well, I think you can't say the C word on stage. It's weird. It's like this unwritten rule. And I said it once, like quite accidentally, and I was in big shit for saying it. You know, the club thing, they wouldn't book me again if I used the C word. But you know, it's funny. Like here, they refer to it as the C word or the N word. Like in England, they wouldn't say, "Oh yeah, he called me the C word," or "They called me the N word." They would say the actual word. You know?
Yeah, I feel like that makes us sound like children when we go around saying that, like the N word, C word.
Because it's like if someone is, like the other day, what about this woman on Twitter who used the M word in respect of the president and talking about being assassinated? I mean, this bitch went hauling in by the FBI. I mean, again, people say things to sensationalize situations, but for me, that's
bad. Out of line, 100%.
Yeah.
Even during the Bush years when we really all hated Bush, no one was like, no one was calling for his assassination.
No. I mean, to me, that's wrong on lots of levels, but it's so unpatriotic for any American or anybody to be even joking about after what we've been through in this country with people like the Kennedy brothers and stuff like that, how anyone can joke about assassinating a president is beyond me.
Yeah. Well, I just think especially that whole Twitter phenomenon with the people using the N-word and calling him a monkey and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell is what's the intention there? Like, people are going to be impressed with you?
Yeah, it's not funny and it's not clever, and I think that if your intelligence is such that you can't say disparage. I mean, you've seen the shit I say about Ann Coulter and other people I don't like, Michelle Malkin.
Right.
But I never bring it down to their race or anything like that, because to me that's so basic, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I do like to joke about race and talk about race, but in the way that people really think about it and act like it. Like, we're like barfly type people. When you're in a bar, it's always like, especially in Manhattan, it's always like everyone's from somewhere different and a different race, and it kind of becomes this thing where you almost forget the whole world's not like that, and you start to get comfortable just talking openly about, well, I'm black, you're white, like, here's the difference between that experience.
I think I don't know, when you're not a discriminate person, when you're not racist, I think you far too often forget that other people are, you know.
Yeah, and there's kind of this thing where you walk through, when you become not racist enough that you're so comfortable talking about race that at times you can almost come off as racist because you're just talking about it openly and like.
Absolutely, and look at friends that we've hung out with in bars and stuff, and they call you the N-word like as a friend, like in a friendly way, or say yo nig or whatever. But I would never kind of say that back, because I know that I would never want to offend anybody. You know.
See, like I know
unless
comics.
they were Republicans, but I still wouldn't use the N-word.
I know comedians that might use it like as like a joke, just like in a elevator alone to just try and get a laugh out of another comedian or something.
Right.
But even then, it would be a rarity. But it's certain things that are that dark. I mean, that's where comedians and writers, people who kind of like to play with language, you know, you want to kind of get into that dark corner of it and see what pops out.
So I take it you were pleased with the outcome of the election. You were glad that Obama got elected.
I was.
Me too.
I was pleased. Oh, that's exactly. Actually, you just reminded me what I wanted to talk about. We're not saying the names of bars, but I worked for a bar when I was up there, and I was DJing the night Obama got elected the first time. And you want to talk about racism? Like,
wow,
that place was. The owner of the place was pissed. He was mad that He's mad that I was celebrating with the people. And I was just happy a Democrat was in the White House again. I didn't care Obama or anybody. And I'm not like the world's biggest Democrat, but at that point, after 8 years of Bush, I was I was a super Democrat, you know. But
I think that 8 years after 8 years of Bush, even the Republicans were sick of being Republicans, really.
Yeah. I think some of them are now too, but I remember that night. I remember not that night, but working at that place for the same guy. You know, I used to play a lot of hip hop. That was like my favorite music to play when I DJ'd because I thought it made the crowd like happy. And this guy goes, "Hey," he pulled me aside before my shift into like the side room, and he's like, "You need to stop playing so much rap. It's bringing too many N-words into the bar." And he said the word, and he said it like. That was the only time in my life. All the times I grew up in Boston, all the times I'd heard it kind of like as a joke or even like as a derogatory term, it had sort of this spin to it that was not that hateful, you know? But the way this guy said it, it just made like my blood run cold.
I think I don't know. I find it very, you know, I can't even be in a room with people and them saying that kind of thing and not say something about it. I mean, it does make it even harder when it's someone you work for, because it's very hard to say, "Hey, fuck you, don't say that," and stick your
especially in a terrible economy. Especially in a terrible economy, his president created.
Yeah, I know, right? But you know, for me, I don't think in the year 2012 it should make a difference what your skin color is. If the criteria to do the job is X, Y, and Z, and you can do X, Y, and Z, then surely that is enough.
Yep, I agree. I used to always say, money's green. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
I said, why are you telling the DJ there's too many people in your bar? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That's what I used to think. And I'd be like, you own a rib restaurant in New York City. Why are you surprised that black people are coming here?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's going to happen.
So let's move on. Let's move on a little bit from the race issue, because I'll be actually let's take some phone calls. If you want to call in now, what we want you to call in, we want you to call in and tell us what you think is funny. Tell us your funny jokes. 347-884-9061. 347-884-9061. If you want to tell us a joke, or if you want to ask Will a question, or if you want to take me out on a date, give us a call now. So tell me a joke, Will. I don't know if you're like a jokey comedian or you kind of tell more like funny stories, but tell me a joke that you think is really funny.
I'm not a very jokey comedian, but I do have a couple. Do you want to hear like one of my jokes, or do you want to hear like a joke that I like?
It's up to you. Whichever you feel will make me laugh more.
Well, I have a joke that's a true story that I've been telling. I was saying earlier that I had a girlfriend one day a few weeks ago. I walked in to the room and she was like putting makeup on in a mirror, you know, and I was like, "Oh, you look so beautiful," you know, and she said, "Oh, thank you. When I'm 80 and I'm old and I'm wrinkly, will you still say that I'm beautiful? Will you still tell me that I'm beautiful?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll call you and I'll tell you that."
Aren't we fickle that's funny, but aren't we fickle as human beings, really?
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
I know.
We want the freshest fruit from the tree, don't we?
I know, it is a weird thing too. Like, there's a lot of I've never cheated on my girlfriend. I don't plan to, but it's funny as a comedian how many girls know that I tell them I have a girlfriend, they just don't even care. You know? I
think it's a bit like being, it must be a bit like being a straight DJ. I mean, I've never been hit on as a DJ. Well, I have a couple of times by women, which I always find amazingly funny. I mean, even the barstool knows that I'm gay. How come women don't know that I'm gay? You know?
It says something about those women, what they're looking for in a man.
It does, doesn't it? They want someone that's softly spoken and is gonna treat them well and do their laundry for them. Whenever
I meet a girl who's always attracted to gay guys, I always think that her dad was probably in the closet.
Really?
And on some level, she kind of likes those sort of closeted men.
Right.
I don't know. That's a weird theory. That I have a lot of theories that have no basis in science whatsoever.
Well, I always think that when straight guys have a problem with gay people, it goes a lot deeper. Because unless you're actually going to sleep with someone, how does their sexuality make a difference to you? I mean, look at all the time I've known you. We've always joked about stuff. We've always and it's never been an issue for you because you're like a pure blood heterosexual. But if someone does have an issue about it, I always think, why? Why is it such an issue for you, really?
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, my dad was like a Boston policeman. My mom's like a teacher, very like blue collar people. But we went to Provincetown every summer for vacation for a week, and it was like we were around gay people for as long as I can remember, and it was always just kind of like, just a sect of society. And there was a lot of like drag queens down there, so I think that was like that was actually kind of my first, how children kind
Your
of thing.
Your first blowjob, is that what you're trying to tell us?
Yep,
Bill?
I was 5 and I paid $8.
Bargain.
It's supposed to be $2 a year of your age, but I talked them down.
As you do, as you have to.
But I think when I was a kid, I associated gay guys with drag queens, so that kind of made them fun, and just fun and non-threatening. And the Provincetown gay scene was very theatrical and fun, so I always had a fondness for gays. And then my dad had a lot of friends that were black and a couple gay friends. It was never like something that was no pun intended, poo-pooed on around here.
I think you learn what you live, and if you're brought up with, I hate the word tolerance because I hate to think that anybody should be tolerated, but if you're brought up with that like level of respect for everybody, you go into adulthood with that too, I mean, I'm the first one to I'm the first one to kind of joke about things, but I know some people you just can't joke about being gay. It's not funny. It's something you're going to catch, and they can't spend any time with you or even sit near you because people might think that they're gay. I mean, get a fucking life.
Yeah, that's always weird to me. I've gotten that from the stage. Some people are so uncomfortable with just the topic, just the topic, not even getting into it, because my act is very like, it's not in your face, it's not going to make anyone, it's not written to make someone feel uncomfortable if they don't agree with it. And every now and then someone will come up, an older woman will kind of come up to me after the show and be like, maybe not so much gay stuff, like, because because some of us just feel bad for your parents, and like they say that, and it's just so funny. And I don't think that's hate. It's like this weird sort of, it's like people of the older generation. It's the same way they think about marijuana as terrible because it was connected to like a 25-year prison sentence. So they're like, it has to be bad. You'd go to jail for 25 years. And like these are the same people who are like, well, gay has to be bad because you burn in hell for being gay,
I know. I mean, I kind of have to laugh at some of these thinking and ideology. I mean, I think the world is changing and I think that it's getting better, but I still think, even just with this election, just some of these attitudes towards things like abortion, gay people, rape. I mean, some of these things are a classic. Some of these comments that Republicans made about rape. I mean, how could anybody in the right mind say these things that they said? I mean.
Oh, I know.
The body just has a way of knowing. I mean, what bullshit.
Oh my God, they were really this election particularly. I didn't know if it was just me getting older and becoming more like jaded about the political system and process, but it just seemed like there was a lot more just pure not even speculation, just fairy tale writing and then releasing it as fact.
Yeah. I mean, did they not realize that there is a job in this world called fact checker?
Yeah, they even tried to just create polls at the end and say, "Hey, Romney's going to win, so if you want to vote for a winner, vote for Romney."
Yeah, I mean that was all. I mean, I sent when we got the results, I sent a tweet to Ann Romney saying maybe she should call Cindy McCain and ask her what the best thing to do is the day after your husband loses an election. I mean, I was bitchy for a few hours, and then because for me now, I think all the parties have to start working together. There has to be a bipartisan effort to get this country back on its feet. Because for the Republicans to just stick their heels in at every point and say, "No way, we're not agreeing with this. We're not doing anything. As long, no matter how good it is." To me, that's ridiculous. They have to start to love America more than they hate the president. Because that's not what America is about. America is about working together. It's about affecting change and making things better. And yeah, adding a bit of humor to that situation, because they don't know humor. They wouldn't know humor if it bit them on their Republican
Exactly.
accent, really.
Now, did you see Romney's concession speech? He looked like he wanted to just fire the entire audience. Like he just looked so mad.
Yeah, or ship them all to China like he does with the jobs that he's got opening up.
I think that's how they lost it this time. The Republican Party leadership and the actual people who are their actual constituency, the voters, they don't like the people that represent them anymore. They talk down to them and they treat them like morons.
Yeah.
And they try and scare them. And I think they've actually wised up, the actual real Republicans out there.
It's really funny you should say that, because a lot of friends of mine who are Republican have actually said they would far rather vote for Obama than to have voted for Romney with all his crazy ideologies. And I don't blame that on him being a Mormon. I blame it on him being a moron, basically.
That may have, yeah, that's true, and that may have been a bad choice for them though, because it's like you're going for Christians, but even a lot of Christians don't even like Mormons.
No,
No,
absolutely. I mean,
or at least wary of them.
We're supposed to have like a separation of church and state. I mean, we saw with Bush. Bush always was talking about he prayed about this and he felt that it didn't sit right with God. Now, I believe in God. I'm a pretty spiritual person. But if your job calls for you to make decisions on facts and not faith, then you have to put the faith aside and actually make the decision on the facts, and not make decisions based upon religiosity, because that cuts out a lot of the population. Oh yeah, and this is serious stuff. Like if I were, about to go in for heart surgery and the doctor told me he was going to go pray to God about how to do it, I'd want another doctor, Yeah. I believe in God too. I'm not an atheist or anything, but at certain times, it's not appropriate. Oh, we have a call, Will. Let's see who this is.
I'm looking for Big Bad Will Noonan.
Hey, this is him right here.
Will Noonan, this is Jimmy Noonan from New York City, baby.
Hey, what's up, man? How
are you? Are you guys related?
No, but Jimmy's a way bigger star than me, so this is like a good get for your radio show.
I ain't nothing. Come on.
So tell us, Jimmy, what do you think is funny? Tell us something that will make us laugh.
Oh my God. Well, I'll tell you, I bounce when I'm not doing high-end security. I bounce in clubs.
Right.
And I had this kid was pinching ass in the club the other night, and the report came through my earphone that this kid was pinching ass and that I should go look at it. And sure enough, this kid's standing right in front of me, and he pinches this girl's ass. So I hook him up and I take him outside. And this guy's half my size, and he's screaming at me. And I realized at that point that he and I haven't talked to him. He hasn't heard me talk. So I remember Marley Matlin in Children of a Lesser God, like doing sign language. So I started doing sign language to this kid. And this kid says, "Oh man, are you kidding me? You can't even talk. You can't. What? You took me out of the club?" So I got 400 people online outside. I got bouncers, and I'm doing sign language. This kid and screaming at him in sign language. And
wow.
and I turned around, and everybody was laughing. This kid was pissed, and then I told him to go screw off, and then he got really pissed. That's about the funniest story I can tell in the whole world.
That's awesome. How do you emphasize? Do you just make everything bigger in sign language?
Well, just bigger and do weird moves with your fingers, and then all of a sudden, like, I put my hand in front of my mouth and I open it, I open it real loud, because that's what I think she used to do with William Hurt in Children of the Lesser God. When she was screaming at him, she'd throw her hand open. I think she did it with Donald Trump too.
Will knows the American sign, don't you, Will? Will knows how to say balls deep in American Sign Language.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know how to say it in every language just in case. You know?
What's going on with you guys? You guys are on like some kind of fancy radio?
I guess so.
Oh, we're on very fancy radio. We're on Blog Talk Radio on the Xandermonium show.
On the Xandermonium show, cool.
No, not Pandemonium, Xandermonium.
Oh, I got it.
And you're live right now on the air.
On the air.
Cool.
Yeah, Jimmy does radio all the time. He's like a hilarious...
I do once in a while.
Yeah, man.
I do once in a while. I'm still doing some movie work.
Yeah, how's everything going? What do you got going on?
I just did I did something out in Los Angeles called the guy Kurt Sutter, who did Sons of Anarchy. He did this show called Outlaw Empires, about all the great the great bad guy organizations in America, the Mob and Bloods and Crips, and of course they did the Aryan Nation, and in prison I played the head of the Aryan Nation. So I got to run around prison and scream at people. It was kind of cool.
That is cool, man.
Yeah, and getting big black guys' faces and tell them how I was going to take them out on the yard and slice them up and stuff like that.
Oh, wonderful.
Meanwhile, I was afraid of everybody, you know what I mean? But hey, shit happens,
Did you shoot that in in a real prison?
We actually did in downtown. It's closed now. A real jail in downtown Los Angeles has been there for like 80, 90 years, and apparently the place is haunted. And it's really spooky place. It was kind of cool. They still haven't paid me, though. I didn't get a check yet. It's only been a couple of months,
Isn't
that the way with show business?
And they make you wait for 3 freaking months for your money. What I want to know is, why don't they give you interest for that 3 months when it would have been sitting in your bank account?
Yeah, and they would have killed you if you were 5 minutes late to that thing, too.
Yeah,
and then
exactly. Well, it was non-union work, so technically speaking, I'm outing myself. I shouldn't have been doing it anyway. But you know what? You can't hold a guy up from working. We all got to pay the rent,
Hey, the IRS listens to this show, Jimmy. You know that, don't you?
What's that?
The IRS listens to my show.
Yeah.
Hey, they can't even...
Trust me, they know where to find me. They know where I am.
The CIA can't even keep their own philandering a secret anymore, so they're not going to...
So,
Jimmy, do anything about us.
Do you have any embarrassing stories about Will that you can share with us?
No, I don't know Will that well, to tell you the truth. We're both Noonans, and he's a big shot in the comedy business, and I'm in the security business and the acting biz, and that's how we know each other. We kind of break each other's chops or support each other, one or the other, on Facebook every once in a while. But if he's a Noonan, I can guarantee he's good people.
Absolutely, that's absolutely right.
I can attest to that. He is good people. Well, Jimmy, thank you for your call.
My pleasure. I just wanted to say hey to Will and whoever you are, young man, and God bless.
One and only Xander Gibb.
Stanford Gibb?
No,
Xander
Gibb.
Oh, okay. Are you one of the Bee Gees?
They're distant cousins.
Do you wish you were one of the Bee Gees? Because I always wanted to be a Bee Gee.
No. I sing, but I'm a better singer than the Bee Gees. But that's
what you doing on your back in your bed? Yeah, you should be dancing now.
Don't sing anymore, because I'll have to pay to the copyright people. Listen, thanks for calling, Jimmy. You have a fabulous
God bless,
day.
guys. Take care. Good job,
Jimmy,
Will.
Thanks for calling, man. It was great to talk to you. Talk to you soon.
Wow.
Hey, that's
what
a big
character.
Star. He's in that movie. You ever seen the movie Super Troopers?
No, I haven't.
And it's funny that we were talking politics, because his sister, Peggy Noonan, she's a big Republican pundit, and she used to write speeches.
Yeah.
No, she used to write speeches for Ronald Reagan.
Ronald McDonald.
Ronald. But I didn't bring it up because I know, like, I don't think she likes it when he talks about her and stuff. So I didn't want to try and get him to do it.
You should have brought it up then. I would have done. So come on, who else there? Call in 347-884-9061. 347-884-9061.
That was a good call.
9061. I know. Stanford Gibb. I was on a radio the other day and they were calling me Xander. It was it's like only Hicks would call you Xander. Come on, who's going to call in and speak to us? 347-884-9061. So tell everybody out there, Will, where they can find you. I know you're on Twitter and Facebook.
Right, WillNoonan.com is, you can find all the links to all my stuff is there. And
is there a link to your sex tape on that?
I'm still hoping those come out, but most of them were done in hand-sketched flipbook format, so I don't know if that...
flip-off book.
Yeah. Actually, they were done in sign language. I have sex in sign language as well. I do it in all different ways.
Where the phrase balls deep comes from?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think he was I don't think he got that. That was an in-joke, wasn't it? But I think he was like...
Yeah,
balls
like, balls
deep, dude, what are you talking about? Is this some back homo bullshit?
Wait till you see a picture of this guy, man. He used to be a professional wrestler.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he's huge. He's a gigantic guy. In Super Troopers, he played like a... that's why he was talking about being in like a prison gang in a movie. That's the kind of guy he looks like.
Right.
He's just a big, old, redheaded muscle man kind of guy.
All right, well, let's have some quick-fire questions because I don't think anyone else is brave enough to call in.
Or sober enough.
I know, absolutely. I have a bottle of wine sitting here with my name on it. It's called Chateau Xander.
Oh. I knew a guy named Zandy for a while. Did people ever call you Zandy?
Yeah, and I get called Zanny and stuff as well. And Xanax and...
Xanax, that's a good one.
I don't care what they call me as long as they pay me my fee, that's all I'm bothered about.
That's so funny that Jimmy said that, too, because isn't that just all... I'm waiting on so much money right now. I'm waiting on, like, the last, 4 months of work. Like, they just never send it.
Then someone will surprise you and pay you, like, either in cash or on the day.
Yep.
And then you'll get a check, like, you get home and you find there's a check there for you, which doesn't happen very often, but I love it when that does happen.
It is. It's such an artist's life to be. It's feast or famine all the time.
You're telling me, but would you rather be doing a 9 to 5 or working in some crappy bar?
Nope.
Than doing this, I wouldn't swap it for the world. I like to do my own thing. You see, this is the thing. I always get fired from jobs, but I can't fire myself, can I? So
yeah.
I figure if I work for myself, at least I get a good severance package.
Exactly. A lot of times when I go into a comedy club and they're doing karaoke in there, I thank God I'm not doing it anymore.
I mean, hey, I still do it from time to time, whenever I'm needed because the money's not bad.
Oh, hell no.
I can't decry it. It helped to support me a lot, but I am still hoping that Sirius or CBS is going to call me up and say, "Hey, Xander, come and bring your show to us." That would be absolutely amazing. But,
but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like I don't mean like the job itself or the money. It's just such a stressful job. In a lot of ways,
it's very stressful. I gave you my song 2 hours ago. I haven't sung yet.
That's what I mean. Like, that's the kind of stuff when I see a guy hosting karaoke, I just feel bad for him. I'm like, it's such a hard job. People don't understand.
No. My favorite is I'm a good friend of the owner. I'm like, what's the owner's name? And most of the time, they can't even tell you who owns it. Yeah.
My favorite is when they go, "I'm really gonna rock this. Like, I'm really gonna kill this song." It's like, who cares? No one cares.
What do you want me to sing? I don't particularly want you to sing anything.
Yeah.
What do I want you to sing? Oh,
that's a popular one. Yeah. What do you want? What do you want?
Don't Stop Believing, because it's only been sung like 52 times.
That's the one. I couldn't stand that one.
All right, let's have some quick fire questions, Will.
Okay, let's do it. Yep.
Clear your throat.
I know. Getting ready.
Getting
ready.
New York or Boston?
Ooh, tough one.
You got to be very careful here.
Well, I think I would choose Boston to live.
Right.
But if I think everyone I still consider myself a New Yorker. Like,
yeah,
in a lot.
I don't think being a New Yorker is about where you're born. It's actually a state of mind. We were talking about this last night. I think New York is either in you or it's not, you know.
Yeah, and I still have, throughout the day in Boston, I thought this would eventually end, but I still am constantly comparing Boston to New York all the time, and the things that they do better here and the things that they do better there.
Right.
And I'm always saying, like, oh, man, the trains in New York are so much better. And stuff like that.
Hey, not this week they're not, dude. Honestly,
yeah.
You're not missing anything.
And that's actually one of the things. When I saw that, I was like, nah, I'm glad I moved.
Oh, you did with this hurricane. You didn't miss anything. I think it's really sad. I know this is supposed to be quick fire questions, just a little sidebar. But I think it's really sad that it happened. But the level of community that people coming together to help one another is really, I found it very touching.
Yeah, New York is great like that. I mean, I was there for 9/11, 2 blackouts, and that transit strike, and people are very good at coming together.
Absolutely.
During tough times.
Absolutely. Right. Okay, let's go back to the quickfire. Chicken or fish?
Chicken.
Weed or Coke?
Weed, no question about it on that one. That is
Coffee,
easy.
Fresh or instant?
Oh, fresh. I hate instant coffee.
What about funniest dish to you while on stage?
Funniest dish? Jeez. I don't know if this is like funniest, but one time a guy just made fun of how big my head was. He was like, "You got a melon," and that kind of was just like. That was just kind of so funny and kind of on point that I couldn't really,
There was no response to that. Well, I would have said, sorry, sir, which head are you talking about?
Yeah, that was a golf tournament. I in the summertime, sometimes I do these golf tournaments, and they're just the worst gigs. Like a bunch of guys who have been in the sun drinking beer all day. The last thing they want is like a guy their son's age kind of busting their balls. About stuff, but yeah, that was a good one. I don't get heckled too often. It doesn't come to me that much.
I always get heckled, and I love it. All right, do you prefer to drive or be driven?
I like to drive.
Me too.
I think that's after being in New York all those years. I enjoy driving more now.
Oh, well, I don't live in the city anymore, so I have a car, and I wouldn't be without it. It really does change your life. It makes you a lazy fat ass, but it does change your life.
Yeah. But I feel like I get to more places now.
Me too. Mickey D's or Burger King? Which is your favorite drive-through, Will?
Oh, that's a good question because I go to a lot of them on the road. Wendy's is probably my favorite.
I like Wendy's. The salad is great.
I eat at Dunkin' Donuts a lot. I eat a lot of their bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches.
I love that they have to do this thing called the Big something or other.
Big and Toasty.
Big and Toasty. Which I thought the guy was propositioning me. He said, "Do you want a Big and Toasty?" I was like, "Okay, then." Sunny side up, over easy. Yeah. Do I crush nuts with that? Okay, Lisa Lampanelli or Kathy Griffin?
Oh, Kathy Griffin, I would say.
I would say Kathy Griffin, but I do think Lisa Lampanelli is very funny. She's a bit like me. She tells a lot of black dick jokes.
Yeah, I just, a lot of people, I think Kathy Griffin's one of those people you love her, you hate her, but I always just, I like watching her. I find her funny, in an honest way. I like Lisa Lampanelli too, but I'd rather, if I had to choose, I think I'd choose Kathy Griffin. Yeah,
I am talking about comedy-wise, not who you want to sleep with.
Yeah, well, yeah. In that case, I don't know. I'd still probably go with Kathy Griffin, but either way, I'd be unhappy.
All right, red wine, boxed or bottled?
Bottled. I never liked boxed wine.
No, me either.
Yeah.
Condoms, Magnum or Durex?
Magnum, and here's my reason. I don't get a Magnum because I have a big one, but you get a Magnum when you have a regular one, and it gives you a little bit of breathing room in there, and it's not as much of a. So wait, Will, are you telling us Big Willie don't have a big Willie? It's it's like everything else. It's just in proportion.
All right. Fix it yourself or put it in the shop?
I'm a fix-it-yourselfer to a certain degree. I won't take any part off my car that's bigger than
Your penis.
Than 2 inches.
All right. Offend or placate? What would you rather do?
I'm not gonna lie. I'd probably rather placate in real life. Like
really?
That's in real life. That's kind of how I tend to deal with people to get my way. I'll kind of just tell them that I'm gonna do it the way they want me to do it, and then do it my own way.
Right. I mean, I do think you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, but, I mean, you've known me for a long time. If people are nice to me, I'm nice to them, but when people screw with me, then we'll be tied. That's the case. I wish I wasn't like that. I wish I was able to be nice all the time, but I'm just not built that way. But I do try. I really am trying to be a nicer person as I get older, but it's very hard,
Yeah, I think being a comedian has made me more the same all the time with all types of people. I'm just sort of myself more than I used to be.
Right.
Because you're kind of getting paid to have your own personality. So, if I'm getting the other day I got my car fixed, which is funny. I took my car to the shop to get something fixed, and the guy gave me like a hard time, and I was like really kind of I kind of like called him an asshole. But like in a funny way, I like made fun of him like I would make fun of like a heckler,
Right.
And
absolutely.
I don't think I would have done that before, but I think I just had the self-confidence to do it after doing stand-up for a few years.
I think it makes you very forthright. It makes you very unafraid of standing up for yourself. I mean, I'm terrible. If I don't get good service or I get something that's not right, I'm the first one that's on the phone to say something about it. But when I'm insulting, I like to be very clever about it. Like I called someone egregious the other day, and they went, "Oh, thank you," which I thought was hilarious.
That's like my sister. One time I said her life was in turmoil, and she said, "No, I live in Boston."
Yeah, your sister. I was out with your sister once, and this guy said he was a librarian, and she said, "Oh, which part of Liberia did you come from?" I don't know. You have to laugh. So tell us where people can see you, Will. What shows you've got coming up. Tell us what you've got for sale. What snake oil you want to sell to us.
Well, if you live in Maine or New Hampshire or Massachusetts or Connecticut, I'll probably be coming to a town near you sometime in the next 2 months. So just go to willnoonan.com. All my dates are always there. I'm going to be in Pennsylvania pretty soon. Pennsylvania. I may be coming to Long Island, New York soon to the Levity Live Comedy Club out there in
You'll
West
have to let me
Nyack.
know what that is, because I'll have to come and throw my underwear at you as promised.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to need it. Because I always go through a lot of underwear on the road, and and I got my CD and podcast, which are both on iTunes. So you can always check that stuff out. I'd really like it, and you can request me on Sirius XM. I've been getting a lot of radio play on there lately, so I'm excited about that.
Cool.
Yeah, but willnoonan.com is, the home for all things.
Everything we need to know about you on willnoonan.com.
Yeah,
but not a link to the sex tape.
No, I'm saving the sex tape for when my parents are on their deathbed, because I want them to go out full of shame.
On that note, Will, I think we'll end the interview. Your parents have my condolences. Thanks so much. It's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. It's great to talk to you for so long.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Just hear your voice again.
You have to come on again at some
Absolutely.
point.
And then I'll do the show.
Oh, you're so disgusting. Well, listen, thank you so much, Will. It's been great talking to you.
Great talking to you, too, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Well, that was my first live show, my interview with Boston's own Will Noonan even. You can catch this show after on Blog Talk Radio, the recorded version, and YouTube also. Thanks to Jimmy for calling in, and the rest of you. Shame on you for not calling. please go on your internet after the show is over and lobby your senators and governors and get them to put some pressure on the power companies to get people power again. And I will see you at the same time next week, 5 till 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific Time, and 10 till 11 UK Time. Thank you very much. I love you all very much. Goodbye.
London has been good to me this time around. Things were bound to change.